Hi Pisces, welcome to your Astro Reels reading. It's my pleasure to read for you, as you know, and you know that you don't actually have to have any significant Piscean natal placements in your chart in order for this video to be for you. And you don't have to be watching this video at the time that it's made for it to be for you. If it's for you, then it's for you. And if what you're watching doesn't resonate with you, I would invite you to take a step back, give it some time, and then come back, because chances are the energies are still rolling in and have not yet made themselves manifest enough for you to perceive of it as yet. Okay, so just come on back. But either way, if you'd like to work personally with me, you know exactly where to find me. Let's jump right in. So Pisces, the first card that kind of flipped out is this. I don't know what it is. Oh, on track. Pisces, what? You guys have been killing the game. Like every time I do a reading for Piscean energy, it's like things are looking good. Things are looking good. I don't know what I'm expecting. I don't know. I don't know what I'm expecting all the time, but I also picked up on a little bit of grief energy for you, Pisces, understandably. Now let me feel into that grief energy right now. It's a little bit of a feeling like you've lost your path. Like I'm just seeing you wandering about, but I don't get that that's necessarily the case. So let's talk about that a little bit. I'm closing my eyes because I'm seeing the vision. It's almost like you are, oh yeah, you notice I just said I'm seeing the vision, but that's what I was saying. But when I said that I heard the spiritual meaning there, I'm seeing division. Okay, so there's a way that you're perceiving of your world right now, Pisces, that is giving you a sense of being divided, as there being division either between you and someone else or within you and yourself. I'm also getting an image, and this could be for somebody in particular, of you being in the passenger seat of somebody's car, and and it's all of a sudden it's like you wanting to get out of this car and then unbuckling your seatbelt as if to jump out of the car almost. Like, so I'm not sure what that's all about, but before you do anything, Pisces, I would invite you to stop. No wonder this card came out, reflection. Now we're back here, but I want you to stop, and I want you to remember this. This is very important, and the way they're saying this is like they're slowing it down 2 minutes 22 seconds to tell it to you, because they want you to like get a tattoo of it. It's that important. A tattoo across your chest is what I'm seeing for some reason. I don't know why, but the message that they're saying is, Pisces, and they're like rubbing your head, you're always going to have issues with vision. Okay, that's just how it's going to be, because that's just Neptunian energy right there. You can feel into something and you can sense what others cannot sense in many ways. So you're very intuitive. But the flip side of that intuitive ability is sometimes having a wrong perception, perceiving things in a way that is not real, right? And so anytime you start to feel sad about something or upset or angry or whatever, moved by your emotions, it's very, 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 very important, they're saying, for you. And again, they showed me like getting this tattooed across your chest, and I'm not telling you to do that. So if you actually do that, you're crazy. And you probably shouldn't be listening to these videos because you're too, impressionable. But my point is to take the message. And the message is very simply, you cannot always trust your feelings, okay? And I know it's like, and you cannot even always trust what you're seeing, because you'll like look down the corner and think you're seeing, this person cheating, I'm just using this example, I don't know, whatever, with another person, and that time it's totally off. You're viewing it wrong. They're not. They're just, they don't even know each other. One just dropped something, the other's like, hey, here's your pencil, you dropped it, and you're seeing this whole thing like your boyfriend's leaving you and this and that, and so the guides are saying sometimes you to use the words, they're saying you sow your own seeds of division. And they're doing it like this. You're sowing your own seeds of division. And as they say that, they're doing it like that because I'm also seeing you binding your hands. Like how a fighter would bind his hands a bit. But it's like every time you are seeing wrongly and you're creating this reality for yourself because your perception is off, you're handicapping yourself in a way. So you're creating an obstacle for true sight, okay, is what I'm getting here. 4 minutes and 44 seconds. So yes, you're on track. So let's go back to why, even though I just said I'm seeing some off-tracky kind of perception going on in your field. Let's go back to here so I can explain what this means. You're on track, and the image I was seeing is you in a garden, like at night. Like, let's say you have there's a garden and you have a mansion and there's a garden out back, and then you're like just go in, it's nighttime, you're just enjoying the nighttime garden, and you walk into the garden, and as you're walking into the garden, you're getting kind of caught up in your thoughts, and you're thinking, oh, what if this, what if that happens, and before long you've noticed that you're kind of pacing this little garden, and you're all in your mind with fear and about what if this happens, what if that happens, and then slowly you start to realize, oh, for whatever reason, you're like, oh, I was just in a little bit of a stupor, and then you go back into your house and you realize, oh, nothing's actually wrong. So that's the kind of energy. It's a little bit of a Chicken Little kind of energy where you think the sky is falling, but it's not. It's not falling. And that, my friend, is a perception issue. So that's why the two can actually be 5 minutes, 55 seconds. That's why you can be on track and like, hey, dude, everything's cool. You're worrying. You're all good. I know you're feeling a certain type of way, but you're all good. And it can also be off track because you're in the land of misperception. So please remember that, because especially with your Neptunian, Neptune is your planetary ruler. And if you're not familiar with Neptunian energies, just think, and I mean this very lovingly, delusional at its worst. At its worst, because it's an energy that's boundless. It's completely opposite in many ways to what is it called? Virgo. Virgo is very detail oriented. It's got, it's like, I don't know, boundaries, and it's just the opposite. Whereas Pisces is different. It's flowy, it's watery, and again, that makes for beautiful channeling. It makes for amazing intuitive abilities, great creativity, all sorts of stuff. But the flip side of that is that, can you trust what you're perceiving sometimes, right? So that's why Virgo and Pisces, being opposite ends of the spectrum, they can really, really help each other out, because Pisces can as you go more towards incorporating more of the groundedness of the earthy Virgo, you're grounding yourself from a great position, giving yourself a foundation from which to view and to channel and to see, be a seer and to create and to this and that, but you're not getting picked up with your emotions and your ideas, right? So this is what that is. So if this is you, if this reading is vibing with you, there's something, and I'm getting that some of you may not even know that you're off a bit. So if you live alone, if you're isolated, if you don't really talk to a lot of people, or even if you do have a lot of friends, but there are certain things you don't talk to them about, and that's the thing that you're ruminating about, right? You need to ground yourself a little bit more. Of course, you can eat more grounding vegetables, you can go out and ground yourself, but I think if this reading is for you, you might actually benefit from being being near and in proximity and even in engagement with somebody who's very earthy, who's very down to earth, and that will help you. It'd be cleared up in very quickly, but it's almost like I also heard it'll be cleared up in 3 months. So that's a little bit of an aside for somebody dealing with something, whether it's a rash or whether you're dealing with a situation that is throwing you for a loop, and it's like a big thing that doesn't get done overnight. That could take 3 weeks to 3 months. I'm just getting 3 here, but having a good conversation with somebody solid and grounded can really ground you in less than an hour. So my point is, this is a call to action if this reading is for you. In fact, remember, you noticed that this card actually came up reverse reflection. Because what good is reflection if you're already up in the air? To reflect and really reflect, you really have to have a certain sense of groundedness. Otherwise, you're just getting carried away with whatever it is that's going on. So come out of hiding or seclusion. Yeah. So I'm getting with this energy that some of you may be, see, up in the air. Didn't I just tell you? Look, some of you may be up in the air. Some of you may be feeling very trapped in some situation. Maybe you don't like routine like me. I hate it, absolutely hate it. I'm a life path 5, and it's exactly what I need to really be better. Be better. But But this card is what I'm getting for some of you who don't like routine. And I'm seeing that maybe some of you may actually, these are obstacles, by the way. There's obstacles. These are obstacles. You may not like routine. Some of you may not like to get advice from other people because, and the reasons could be myriad. Maybe because then you won't be able to do what you want to do, or maybe because you like to be right, or maybe you want to believe in a fantasy, or you don't want to grow up. Whatever the situation is, there's so many. Oh, I'm also getting memories. For some of you, you may be being plagued by memories. It could be a nod to your conditioning that you've had. So this could be like a trauma response where you don't want to face the reality of certain things, because to do so would require certain faculties from you. And because you've had a trauma or multiple traumas in your life, being able to call upon those faculties is very difficult, right? So, hopefully we can move quicker than we already are into creating a more trauma-informed world. So some of you may be aware of trauma-informed workplaces now, where basically the idea is creating a work culture where people can have enough latitude to be at their best in the workplace without triggering their trauma. And so just a really quick example of that, 11 minutes 11 seconds, is, say for example, if you're on a work call, like a Zoom call, maybe your company may say, okay, well, to allow for the spectrum, 11 minutes 22 seconds of people who have trauma and whatnot, we're going to allow for you to keep your camera off if that's what you desire. We're not going to call on anyone in particular. We'll just invite people to share or give other options. They may say that you can drop any questions into the chat if you don't feel comfortable or just speaking out on the Zoom call, for example. So there are quite a few things that, or there are polls that you can take that are anonymous during the calls. So that's an example of taking steps to create a trauma-informed workplace. So long story short, some of you may be working with a lot of trauma, and you are needing to have this trauma release. You're needing to look at these hurts that you haven't really looked at, or that and for some of you haven't had a chance to look at, because maybe in the past I'm seeing that there may have been openings for you to do so, but you didn't have the right people around to do it, right? When I say openings, I mean energetically. Maybe the conditions were right and nature would have supported you getting the trauma release help that you need, for example, but maybe there were no people around, or you didn't have. So that's okay. We can try again, right? But the point that I'm saying is that if that's your case, you may need to do some trauma release and do some stuff, because I'm getting 3 months ago may have been a good time for some of you. And why this is also great and it's so important to mention today for you guys, whoever you are, Piscean or not Piscean, is because they're showing that there's something up ahead for you. I'm getting in the next 6 months, six months for some of you. I'm trying to feel into 8 months, but that doesn't feel very likely. It's feeling very solidly like 6 months. I'm getting the color orange for somebody, or for a few of you. But anyway, in the next 6 months, there's something coming up for you. See how it looks nice? It's like this house in the distance. But we've got to remove some of these things, because if you can't even get your horse and its carriage to the house, how can you first of all get to the house, and then how can you carry things to and from the house? So you're going to have to deal with whatever this situation is. For somebody here, I just heard neighbor, and I don't know if it's that your neighbor is dying or there's a death related to a neighbor or what that is, but just passing the message on for someone. God bless you and that. Okay, going back to the reading, generally speaking, we have this up in the air. It's kind of what I told you. Spirit is saying this is your perception. You may have this perception that something is up in the air. I don't know if it's going to work out. I don't know what's going on, but I think that right now what's important is to do the trauma release and to whatever that is that you need to do, or soul retrieval, or whatever it is that you need to do, so that you can get clear. And in the short term, what you can do, well, that's short term too. You can book a reading with somebody or a therapist or whatever. But in a shorter term, you can find somebody who's grounded and who has earthy tendencies and who's very practical to kind of assist you. I feel just even being in their proximity, energetically speaking, will help your energetic field. Okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and also remind you that you're on track, though. We just have to clear up the perception. Okay, so if you'd like to work personally with me, you know exactly where to find me. But until then, God bless. Goodbye.